She was only 14, standing barefoot on the cracked sidewalk, her eyes wide with fear. Hundreds of people passed her that night, but nobody stopped. Nobody cared. Until she stepped through the gates of an abandoned mansion where everything changed forever. Before I tell you what happened inside, hit subscribe and share this story, because what unfolds next is something you'll never forget. Her name was Aaliyah, a girl too young to be carrying the kind of pain she carried. The city streets didn't welcome her. They pushed her away. Neon lights flickered above broken stores, cars honked impatiently, and voices of strangers blended into a blur. But Aaliyah felt invisible. She had been walking for hours, clutching a torn backpack that held nothing but a notebook and a picture of her mother. That picture was the last memory she had. Her mother had left one night and never returned. Aaliyah had been living with an aunt who never smiled, never hugged, and never wanted her around. One argument too many, one slammed door too hard, and Aaliyah ran. She thought someone would notice. She thought someone would care. But the sidewalks were cold, and the people passing by were colder. The night air grew heavy, and the city that once felt alive now felt like a monster swallowing her whole. She sat on the curb, watching headlights blur past like streaks of light. Every pair of footsteps that came near filled her with hope, only to crush it when they walked by without a glance. And then, in the distance, she noticed it. An old mansion on the edge of the street, hidden in shadows, fenced off like it didn't belong to this world. The kind of place kids whispered about, but never dared to enter. Its windows were dark, yet something about it pulled her in. It wasn't safety, it wasn't warmth. It was mystery, and maybe mystery was better than being ignored. Aaliyah stood up, brushed the dirt from her jeans, and walked toward the gates. The mansion's iron gates creaked as Aaliyah pushed them open. Her heart pounded in her chest, but not from fear, more from the strange pull this place had on her. The street behind her was still buzzing with cars and strangers, but once she stepped inside the fence, the noise faded. It was like crossing into another world. She whispered to herself, "It can't be worse than out there." But she was wrong. The first step onto the cracked stone path made the ground echo louder than expected. She flinched. The windows of the mansion reflected the moonlight, giving the illusion of glowing eyes. Still, she pushed forward. The wooden front door wasn't locked. It stood slightly open, like someone had been waiting. Inside, the air smelled of dust and age. Furniture draped in white sheets lined the hallway, and the faint sound of dripping water echoed through a house. Aaliyah told herself it was abandoned until she heard it. "Lost, aren't you?" The voice came from the top of the staircase. A tall figure stood in the shadows, his outline sharp against the faint moonlight. He wasn't dressed like someone from the city. His clothes looked older, almost out of place, like he belonged to another time. Aaliyah froze. Her instinct said run, but her legs wouldn't move. The man stepped closer, revealing a cold smile. "No one out there wants you. That's why you came here. This house welcomes the forgotten." His words slithered through the air, both comforting and threatening. She gripped her backpack tighter. I was just looking for somewhere to stay," she whispered. The man chuckled. "You've already stayed too long." In that moment, Aaliyah realized this wasn't refuge. It was a trap. And the mansion wasn't just holding secrets, it was holding her. The man's footsteps echoed as he descended the staircase, each step heavy, deliberate. Aaliyah backed away, her breath sharp and shallow. The front door, her escape, now seemed miles away. "You're not the first to wander in here," he said, tilting his head like he was studying her. "But you remind me of someone." His words hit like a puzzle piece she didn't want to fit. Aaliyah shook her head. "I don't know you," he smirked. "Maybe not. But your mother knew me." Her chest tightened. The picture in her backpack suddenly felt heavier. "You're lying," she snapped, trying to sound braver than she felt. "Am I?" He spread his arms, as though inviting. her to test him. Why do you think she never came back? This house has a way of keeping people. Aaliyah's pulse raced. Was this man delusional? Or did he actually know something about her past? She took another step backward and bumped into a covered chair. The sheet slipped, revealing claw marks on the wood beneath. Her stomach dropped. The man's voice lowered. They all begged to leave. None of them understood the rules. Do you want to know the first rule, Aaliyah? Her name in his mouth made her skin crawl. What rule? She whispered. He leaned closer, his smile widening. Once you cross the gate, you belong to the mansion. A loud bang erupted upstairs, like a door slamming shut. Aaliyah flinched, whipping her head toward the sound. The man didn't even blink. He only chuckled. Another guest, perhaps. Or maybe someone who never left. The air grew heavier, every shadow stretching longer, darker. The mansion seemed alive, breathing with menace. Aaliyah's eyes darted to the door again, but when she blinked, it looked farther away, as if the house itself was rearranging. Her voice cracked. What do you want from me? The man leaned in close, his whisper brushing her ear. I want you to stay. Aaliyah's knees trembled, but she forced herself to keep standing. The man's eyes glistened with a strange hunger, like he wasn't just looking at her, he was consuming her fear. I don't belong here, she said, her voice breaking. I didn't ask for this. He tilted his head. Oh, but the house chose you. Don't you feel it, the pull? The silence out there pushed you in here. That's no accident, girl. This place only opens for the abandoned. The word abandoned pierced her like a knife. She thought of her aunt, of her mother, of all the faces that had walked past her in the street. Was he right? Did this house somehow sense her loneliness? Her breath grew shallow. She wanted to scream, but the mansion swallowed her voice. The floor creaked behind her. Another presence. She spun around, but saw only shadows shifting in the hallway. The man laughed softly. You're not alone here, Aaliyah. The house is full of them. Lost ones, forgotten ones. They never leave. And she tightened her grip on the backpack, clutching the picture inside like it was a shield. If you know where my mother is, tell me, she demanded, her voice shaking between rage and desperation. His smile curved wider, almost unnatural now. Ask her yourself. And with that, he pointed toward the staircase. Aaliyah's blood ran cold. At the top of the stairs, half hidden, in the dark, was a figure, slim shoulders, a familiar outline. Her breath hitched. No, it couldn't be. Mom? The figure didn't answer. It only tilted its head, just like the man had. The mansion groaned as the lights flickered, shadows crawling like living things. Aaliyah's world spun between fear, hope, and disbelief. Was it really her, or another cruel trick of the mansion? Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear her own thoughts. She took one shaky step forward, whispering again, Mom, is that you? And then the figure moved. The figure at the top of the stairs stepped forward, one foot then another. The light from the broken chandelier above flickered, and for a moment Aaliyah's breath stopped. The face looked like her mother, soft eyes, familiar cheekbones. She wanted to run into her arms, to finally collapse into the safety she had been denied for so long. But something was wrong. The figure's movements were too stiff, too slow, like a puppet pulled by strings. And when she opened her mouth to speak, the words came out hollow. Aaliyah, you came back. Her chest twisted. Back? She had never been here before. She glanced at the man who was watching with delight. Is it her? Or is this another game? She demanded. He chuckled. Your heart already knows the answer. But tell me, little girl, if the house gives you what you want, does it matter if it's real? The figure reached out a trembling hand. Aaliyah's fingers twitched toward it, desperate, but her instincts screamed danger. She yanked her hand back. You're not my mom, she whispered. The figure froze, then let out a shriek that rattled the windows. The shadows in the room seemed to erupt, swirling around like a storm. The man's smile dropped, replaced by fury. You were supposed to choose her. That's how it works. You give yourself to the illusion, and the mansion keeps you. Aaliyah's heart hammered. Her only weapon was the truth, the one thing the mansion seemed to twist. She ripped open her backpack, pulled out the crumpled picture of her mother, and held it high. This is her. This is the woman who loved me, not that thing. The figure on the stairs writhed, its body convulsing. The shadows recoiled like they'd been burned. The man hissed, his voice no longer human. You don't belong out there, Aaliyah. Out there you're nothing. Here you could be everything. Her hand shook, but she pressed the picture to her chest. Tears stung her eyes, but her voice rose, steady and clear. I'd rather be nothing out there than a prisoner in here. The house roared, walls shuddering, lights bursting, glass raining down. The man lunged toward her, but as he did, the front door blasted open. A surge of cold night air swept through the mansion, shattering the suffocating grip of the shadows. Aaliyah bolted, sprinting toward the light. The man's scream echoed behind her, followed by the thunderous crash of the mansion collapsing inward. As if it were devouring itself, she leapt through the doorway just as the house groaned one final time and fell silent. Silence. Real silence. She stumbled onto the sidewalk, gasping, clutching the photo to her chest. Behind her, the mansion stood, intact again, as if nothing had happened. The gate creaked shut. No man, no figure, only shadows watching, but Aaliyah was free. She looked at the picture, tears rolling down her face. Her mother wasn't here, and maybe she never would be. But Aaliyah had chosen herself. She had chosen to keep walking, even when the world turned away. And for the first time she realized survival was its own kind of strength. Aaliyah stood on the sidewalk, her chest rising and falling, as if every breath was a battle won. The city lights still glared, the people still rushed past without a glance, but something inside her had shifted. She had walked into the jaws of darkness and walked back out. Alone, yes, but stronger than she had ever believed. The mansion had promised her belonging. It whispered lies, dressing her deepest wound in illusions. But she learned something powerful. The world outside might not always give you what you want, but it gives you choice. And choice is freedom. Think about it. How many times in life do we face a mansion? It may not have collapsing walls or shadowy figures, but it shows up in other ways. Toxic friendships that pretend to care, voices that manipulate your insecurities, promises that feel good but cage you slowly. These are mansions of the soul. They look like refuge, but are actually prisons. Aaliyah's decision to walk away, even when it meant facing a cold, indifferent world, is a lesson for all of us. Sometimes, strength isn't about fighting a villain. It's about refusing to be trapped by comfort that isn't real. It's about saying, I'd rather struggle in freedom than thrive in chains. And maybe that's what true resilience looks like. Not the absence of pain, but the courage to move forward despite it. So if you've ever felt abandoned, invisible, or unwanted, remember Aaliyah's story. Remember that your worth isn't defined by who notices you or who chooses you. It's defined by what you choose for yourself. Don't hand your life over to illusions. Don't let fear or loneliness make you accept a cage, no matter how comforting it looks. Choose freedom. Choose yourself. And if this story struck something in you, if you felt that shiver down your spine or that fire in your chest, don't. Keep it to yourself. Share it. Because maybe someone you know is standing outside their own mansion right now, tempted to step inside. Maybe this story is the hand that pulls them back. So subscribe for more stories like this and hit share, not just for me, but for someone who needs this reminder tonight. Because sometimes survival isn't about someone saving you. It's about saving yourself.